Welcome to phishing training. The goal of today's training is to educate you on what social engineering is, what the current trends are, and how to protect both yourself and your company from a successful phishing attack. Social engineering is growing at a rapid rate and can have some pretty devastating consequences for businesses of all sizes. So, what's the big deal? We need to remember that we're all targets. In the news, you'll see bigger companies like the Nebraska State Hospital or the 911 outage that affected a lot of the Midwest. These are large entities that are getting hit, and it's a very publicly known thing. What we don't see is the small, medium businesses that are getting impacted by social engineering and ransomware and malware and all sorts of things because they're just either not newsworthy or they're not legally obligated to share that information. So I want to give you a specific example. We're once again focusing on the high profile ones because those are the ones we have the most information on. But this is a really interesting scheme that a lot of people aren't familiar with. And I'm going to give you the high level overview of it. But Google and Facebook both were defrauded for about $100 million collectively. I think it was 50 and 50 or something like that. The too long didn't read version of that is a person started reaching out to Facebook's support, customer service, right? So pretty low level employee from the hierarchy standpoint, and just started asking questions and eventually figured out how they paid their vendors with Facebook and how the accounting process worked, who to send stuff to, and basically incorporated a company in a different country under a similar name or the same name, just not in the right country, made fake invoices impersonating a vendor of Facebook and started sending Facebook's accounting these invoices, and they were getting paid. Did the same thing with Google, and it amounted up to about $100 million. And this wasn't a hack. This is someone got socially engineered at these companies in order to give out the information that ended up costing the companies about $100 million. Fortunately, that person was caught and is facing charges for it. But man, what a big deal, right? And think of if that's happening to a smaller company and the impact that could financially have for you or your company, right? So why are you hearing this? Um, the intent is really just to educate you on what to look for to keep you on your toes and to make sure you know how to best protect yourself. So cyber attacks and social engineering are legitimately at an all-time high. I know it seems like scary news and, IT companies and security companies are trying to sell on fear, but it's the reality of the situation. Successful attacks can really damage your brand and your own personal brand, right? 88% of data breaches are caused by human error. That's a really, really big number. 88% of breaches had the human element involved, and that was what caused the breach to be successful or contributed to it. And people are an organization's first and strongest line of defense. So you being educated on this is critical. So what exactly is social engineering? Well, social engineering is the use of deception and manipulation to convince you to give up your highly confidential information. They use the information to steal from you, your family, your friends, coworkers, employers, and it's one of the most common forms of social engineering. The, the really important point here is once the money is gone, it is almost never recoverable. That's something to remember. So top reasons for clicking on a phishing email. You're going to have an email that was perceived as legitimate. John Doe, who I know personally, sent me an email. It says John Doe, and I didn't look further into it to verify that that was the actual person I thought was sending me the email. It appeared to come from a senior executive, so your boss, your president, your CFO, whatever. A lot of times, the bad actor or the bad guy is going to impersonate someone that you know or someone that is higher in the company that generally has controlling or purchasing power. And then these emails tend to have come from a known brand if they don't come from a senior executive or someone that you know. Things like your Amazons, your PayPals, your Facebooks, all those different big companies that everyone knows. So the goals of the fraudster, you got to remember these are people too, right? So the end goal is almost always financial of some sort. And how they do this is either by blatantly stealing money, compromising your credentials, or infecting your network. The MO at the end of the day is to get some sort of payment from someone for this information or just to take your money. So the first thing we need to do is look out for the imposter. So this is an example email. It comes from Run Network Support, right, at a glance. So we phished or made our name appear to be Run Network Support on this email address, but it didn't actually come from us. whoever this is. And you open the email. This is a really obvious one. A lot of these bad actors make these really, really good. So this one is coming from spoof training email run networks at gmail.com. That one's pretty obvious. That's not legitimately run network support. If you use run networks, you know it comes from support at runnetworkrun.com. There are ways that people can manipulate the email to look legitimate. For example, Amazon, they could spoof the domain or make it look like it came from Amazon and maybe there's an S in there. Or instead of an O in Amazon, it's a 0, things like that. So you have to be really careful on what email address it's actually coming from. And if you're using a mobile phone, you can click the name typically at the top of the email, and it'll show you the email address it came from, not just the display name. So you have to be careful about that. This one is an example. Once again, it's a pretty obvious fake, but the contents of the email is one of the most common scams that we've seen, and people fall victim to this. And as an employee, you need to remember this can impact you directly, not just the company. So in this example here, we have an email coming from Run Network's president as the display name, and the email address is totally brandongordon@gmail.com. Right? We're trying to throw some humor in there. That's clearly not a legitimate email address. But the point is, this is coming from what appears to be the president of Run Networks. And it says to me, hey, Ben, can you get me $10,000 iTunes gift cards, please? Your discretion is appreciated due to the secrecy of this nature, kind of weird grammar. Much appreciated. I'll approve your latest expense report. Just expense it. That's really important. A couple things I want to highlight here is one, these emails, this particular example is from 2021. This is before AI was really good. AI can articulate emails with proper grammar, punctuation, and everything very accurately now. So poor grammar isn't something we can really look for as an indicator of a phishing email, though it can still be. The second thing here is this email is asking me to go buy these cards with my own money and then submit an expense report or submit an expense. What do you think is going to happen if I go buy those gift cards and I try to expense it? Probably not going to get reimbursed, right? So I could be out of pocket really quick here. Now, to be fair, $1,000 iTunes gift cards, pretty egregious price. Typically, they're asking for $5 or $10, $100 gift cards or something, but it could still be a pretty notable amount of money. So the big thing here is if you receive an unusual request, just pause. You're going to want to verify out of channel. If Brandon sends me an email and says, hey, I need you to buy these gift cards, it's not something we normally do, or it just doesn't seem right, I may text or call him on a number I know is his and verify the request before I go actually purchase anything. Once you've determined that it's a fraudulent email, you can actually report the email as spam. So in Google, there's a little exclamation point at the top. You select the email with the checkbox and hit the spam button. In your mobile app, which is on the right here, you can select the email, hit the ellipses, and then there's report as spam. In Microsoft, generally you just go up and click, you select the emails and then click report as junk, or report as phishing. That actually will train the algorithm and the spam filter to identify phishing or fake emails even better. So common phishing characteristics, urgent appeals for help, mainly to send cash to someone in severe distress. You know, I'm stranded in the middle of nowhere, my phone's about to die, and I lost my wallet or something like that. They impersonate a legitimate seeming business or company, you know, your credit cards, your banks, your Amazons, universities, so on and so forth. They present to you a problem that demands an urgent fix by you. For example, your password's been compromised, click here to reset it. They're driving a sense of urgency, and they want you to click on that fraudulent link, you know, to enter your password to steal your password. They falsely say that you won the lottery, or you know, hey, we weren't able to submit your payroll or your direct deposit. Can you please provide me your banking information? And they ask for your bank information, or they pose as your boss, coworker, asking for a gift card or something to that effect. Not to say those are all the phishing tactics, but those are really common ones. So the next thing we have to be cognizant of is thinking before we click. So URLs and hyperlinks can be really dangerous. What fraudsters are doing is they're sending out malicious links to try to get you to click on them, obviously. And the intent behind it is to either lead you to a website where they steal your credentials, download a virus to your computer or your phone, or they hijack your session, which is bypassing multi-factor. What the session hijacking is, this is kind of something that we started seeing really ramp up last year, 2023 in the summer. And what that is a website that has the single sign-on feature. Click here to log in with Microsoft, Google, Facebook, so on and so forth. What happens is the bad guys put out a website. They take that legitimate plugin that anyone can go get for single sign-on, and the intent is that you click on this, the website reaches out and says, hey, is so-and-so logged into Microsoft, Google, or Facebook anywhere else on this computer or this browser? And if so, the computer or browser responds and says, yes, here's the keys to that session. Now whoever has control over that website is able to authenticate as you or log in as you without even entering a password and by bypassing multi-factor. So let's look at an example. Once again, these are pretty obvious examples just to kind of reiterate the point of key indicators to look for and that sort of thing. But you have to be really, really careful and pay attention to the details when you're reviewing potentially fraudulent emails or suspicious emails. So this one comes from Building Management. It's the email address is building.management@buildingmanagement.info. I don't think anyone has ever heard of that company or that email address. It's sent into one of our former staff members, C. Brew here, and it says, hey, just a quick reminder about the upcoming Halloween party. Let's pause real quick. This is an email sent on November 21st, and it's reminding us about a Halloween party. So something's a little off there already, unless you're really late. But it's saying we're going to have it on the 26th of this month. The party will begin immediately after business hours. Here's some prizes we're going to give away. Oh, and down at the bottom, this is a family-friendly event, so take a quick look at the costume guidelines stored on OneDrive to make sure your costume is appropriate. So this email right here is trying to get you to click on the link, and I don't know what the actual MO is or the actual action item is, but they're going to either steal your credentials, try to download a virus, or hijack a session that you're already logged into. So the first thing to look for is the email address, right? That's always where we start, is where did it come from? Do I recognize the email address? Here, we don't recognize it. Seems a little suspicious. The second thing is it has a link titled Costume Guidelines, and the email text states it's a OneDrive link. I've never heard of this company. I don't know about any Halloween party coming up here. I'm going to avoid clicking on that link and go ahead and mark that email as junk or phishing. Something's off with it. So let's talk about what can happen if you do click on a link. Best case scenario is the Run Network's antivirus, firewalls, and cloud monitoring that we have in place will prevent or stop something malicious from occurring. Other possible scenarios are you're routed to the fake website that steals your credentials, unwanted software is attempted to be or successfully downloaded to your device, and the last thing there is your session gets hijacked and the perpetrator gains access to your email. Now that piece is an even bigger deal for a couple different kinds of people out there. One, if you have your administrator privileges tied to your regular email account and you get hijacked, you now just handed over an administrator account to a bad guy. That can cause some serious damage. The second thing to be concerned with is the cloud. If you have all of your data, all your documents, all your client information in OneDrive, SharePoint, Google Drive, any of those things, and they're tied to your email account, you've now handed them access to not only your email, but all of your files and documents. Major, major damage can occur to either you as an individual or the company if a phishing attempt is successful. So at the end of the day, we just really need to think before we click. Best practices, just avoid clicking links in email in general as much as possible. If you get an email like this one below, it's pretty obviously fake, but it's coming from Amazon, says, hey, click here to verify your access. Go to Amazon.com directly, log in, and see if you have any notifications. 9 out of 10 websites, if they send you an email stating there's an issue with your account, you're going to be able to see a notification or something on the website once you log in, indicating that there's action needed on your part. So let's get real. This is and I had to scrub a lot of information off of it, obviously, but this is a real email that successfully hijacked someone's session in 2023. This email looks like a OneNote coming from Microsoft. And what had actually happened is this person's email got compromised, and the bad actor, the bad guy, sent out this email to all their contacts. Inside this email was a link that went to a website to intercept everyone else's session. So it was a domino effect of compromised accounts. It was a really big deal. This particular situation, they received this file as an accounting firm. It was like the last day of tax season. Things are crazy. It's chaotic. It's busy. Things are moving fast. And that is when you are the most vulnerable and when attackers tend to be successful. No matter how busy you are, no matter how chaotic things are, you have to be diligent. and paying attention to if you're supposed to be getting files like this, if this is normal, all the things that we had already talked about. Just be careful. So a couple of things that you can do to try to prevent this from happening or to better protect yourself. Let's start with the password keepers. Password keepers save lives. Slight exaggeration, but the reality of it is they keep passwords. It allows you to have different passwords for every website. You don't have to remember them all. Dashlane and Keeper have apps on your phone and on your web browser, so it'll automatically fill in your passwords. It'll automatically give you strong passwords that you have to generate. You don't have to remember any of your passwords at all, and you don't have to use the same password on every single website. They are an excellent, excellent tool, very cost effective from the business standpoint, and a lot of them have free options. Securing your accounts. I can't emphasize this enough. Enable multi-factor on everything. Everything. Social media, your TikToks, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, all of that. Vendor websites. This is really important. If you are buying items or if you have websites where you have PO purchasing power or a credit card tied to it, you need to have multi-factor enabled on it. Bank accounts, if you can, make sure you have multi-factor or some different form of verification enabled for your bank accounts, especially in business. Retirement investment accounts, websites with credit card saves like I mentioned, and especially email accounts, personal and work. Make sure multi-factor is turned on and forced and not an option for your staff. Protect yourself while you're mobile. This is kind of there's a couple of things here that are kind of like you'd think they're obvious, but they're not. The first is try to use a VPN when you're on a public network, and avoid using public networks if possible. If you have a hotspot, use a hotspot. The goal of that is to separate yourself from everything else on the network. Who knows what the people next to you are doing? Who knows how secure that network is built out? It's just in your best interest, especially if you're dealing with sensitive information or information you wouldn't want someone else to see, is to either be on a VPN or a hotspot to separate yourself from everyone else in the physical area. The VPN should route to a trusted network, something like your office, and then be used on untrusted or public networks. And then be mindful of what's on your screen in public. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a coffee shop and seen what appears to be financial statements or what appears to be health information on someone's laptop screen, and they're just oblivious to the fact that other people are looking around and can see that. A bad actor can use that information and hold it against you or your client. Other best practices, so keep a clear desk. If you don't need to have paper sitting out on your desk, if you don't need to have statements sitting on your desk, don't. Or at the end of the day, lock it away in a filing cabinet or something to that effect. Use unique passwords for all websites and applications. Lock away documents or storage devices, flash drives and external hard drives and those sorts of things that contain sensitive or private information. Redact sensitive information when possible. If you get a form from a client and you need to send it back to confirm information or just to give them a copy of it, can you redact the sensitive information on there? Just think about it. And then lastly, send documents with sensitive information through a portal or an encrypted email. Portal is always the best, but encrypted email works as well. And if you can, avoid receiving flash drives from clients or constituents. Who knows what's on that flash drive? Who knows if there's an unknown software? It's just a best practice to avoid using those in your business and personal life if possible. And remember, you are the most important line of defense. You really, really are. People are. Your company relies on you to prevent phishing attempts from being successful. So keep in mind, you are the first line of defense and one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. And if you ever have a doubt, reach out. I'm Ben with Run Networks, and thank you for your time.